expect that, did you?
No.
That's right.
No, I did not. Didn't expect that, did you?
No. Didn't expect that, did you?
Well, I mean, I kind of saw it, so I kind of did.
You know, like, it was a trick. I tricked you. You didn't see it coming.
But I did.
Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, is a follow-up / sequel to Knives Out. It is a mystery movie written and directed by Rian Johnson that came out that year in 2019. It's my favorite movie of that year, and I gotta say, Rian Johnson is one of my favorite directors / writers working right now, so I was very intrigued and very excited to see what he was going to do with the follow-up to that original film. I thought the first Knives Out was a great mystery with awesome characters, great intrigue, and a lot of elements that made you appreciate the character work, but also the detective mystery behind it. So there's a lot of reasons to revisit that movie, a lot of reasons to love it, and I really enjoyed that film. So I was really naturally excited to see this one. But yeah, did you like the first Knives Out?
I did. I liked it a lot. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while, but I loved it, and was very excited to see this one.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a film that I think is a mixed bag. I definitely want to talk about the positives first. I want to be able to talk about what I did like about this movie, because there are elements that I did enjoy, and, you know, my quick review thoughts that I posted, I feel like I was a little harsher on it, because I just had a limited time to talk about it. I gotta say, there's a lot of stuff to enjoy with the first few parts of this movie, the first act in particular, and we'll get into all of it. Essentially, we get introduced to Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, again, and he's the one we're following from the first one. It's a whole new cast of characters besides him, so you don't need to see the first Knives Out to understand this one, which is really nice. But also, you get the sense that he's bored. It actually does take a real-world element in taking place during COVID, so his character has not had any detective work. He just hasn't had any jobs going on, so now he's very bored. And then he gets invited to this event, this party for the weekend kind of thing, with a bunch of people, hosted by Edward Norton's character, Miles Braun. From there, you're trying to figure out why Daniel Craig was invited, because it doesn't really tell us as an audience, so that is where the mystery kind of kicks off. We're on a boat heading to Edward Norton's place, and that's where we get our mystery going. And what do we think, man? Let's get our positives first out of the way, I guess, if you want. What positives you got?
It's definitely interesting. Well, honestly, I loved all the characters. All the characters felt really alive. The actors behind them felt like they were just having a blast filming this. What worked for me is that, I mean, there was already a little mystery with the little friend group, because the last character that shows up, all the characters are very confused of why this character is here. So it's like, well, here's your setting up mystery. Beginning act, it's just building the world. It's just building the characters. A lot of it is just like hanging out with the characters in the beginning. So you're kind of getting to know them.
I agree. The opening is my favorite part of the movie. The first act is where the movie peaks for me, and I'm not saying that as an insult or like just to dog on the movie. I think the first act is really good. It has great setup, and it really intrigued me. I loved all the characters we were getting. Dave Bautista, Edward Norton, Daniel Craig, Catherine Hahn, like, they're all amazing actors, and these characters are more like caricatures of more extremes of like real types of people. You can definitely tell there's a real world parody element to this movie that it wants to relish in. It opens with that and kind of throws it in your face right away, and I appreciate the movie for doing that. It kind of sets you right up for what type of characters we're going to be spending the rest of the movie with. While greatly performed, sometimes they can come across as more animated than they need to, more cartoony than they need to be. Sometimes the over-the-top nature of each character and how cartoony they were felt a little too zany for me. Except for Edward Norton, I think for his character it worked really well.
Yeah.
However, I could have used a little more real moments with each character. First Knives Out was able to deliver on. You get moments where different characters are able to kind of breathe, and you get their human side a little more. You get hints of that here, but it's more relegated to Janelle Monáe and Daniel Craig's characters than anyone else, so I felt like a lot of the other characters kind of took a backseat in terms of development.
Yeah, and even with the information we kind of received to make those characters interesting, and when certain things were being revealed, it still didn't feel like those characters were that interesting. There were so many things that was kind of like shown and unveiled, so by the time we got to certain things being shown with a certain character, we would just kind of move on, and I would just forget about them, and it's just like, well, the movie's just kind of going. The pacing isn't bad at all either. I felt like the movie was just kind of keep on going. I didn't really feel like there was a slow moment, or when certain things were getting revealed, that's when it slowed down a bit. It wasn't majorly. It didn't like drag me out of it or anything.
I definitely think you liked the pacing more than I did, because for me there were moments where like this movie genuinely dragged. Like I was sitting there just like I need some more plot movement. And what I mean is I never felt like I was getting into the moment with these characters. I never felt like I was in the moment with the mystery. The thing Rian Johnson likes to do, and what I do enjoy in his other works, is that he's able to really build twists that flip the movie's ideas and themes on their heads sometimes, and it flips what you think a character is on its head. He does that a few times here. I just don't think it was done in the smoothest of ways. There are many scenes where I am getting attached to these characters. Like, the first act does such a good job at getting them introduced to me that I want to see where they'll go the rest of the film. However, it kind of feels like a movie that's giving you a translation. Now, bear with me on this, is going to sound convoluted. This movie feels like it's two movies. There's the movie you have at Glass Onion, where the one location is, and where the one setting should be, where the mystery is starting. Then you have another plot element that's followed through with this movie to give you kind of backstory somewhere else. And this takes up a lot of time in the film. And not only a lot of time, it takes up most of the runtime of the movie. To the point where it legitimately detached me from what was going on in the moment, in the present, with the characters on hand. So I lost a lot of the tension that could have been relished in a bit more.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's also with the spoon feeding of the information. When certain things are getting revealed and it just kind of drags you out of it, and because it was a little bit too long, and they could have explained it in a better way, because it felt more of like I was being spoon-fed a lot of the information. And a lot of the information that I feel like I should have been paying attention to with the details, just you showing me, but you're not telling me. This movie does both, where if you pay attention, you can see it, but then it's going to tell you a couple more times later on. So, I don't know, that kind of diminishes the rewatch value for me. Because it's like, well, there's no point of kind of rewatching it if I'm literally just going to be told everything, and I can't just pay attention to it and be like, oh, look at that, look at that.
When you want to build a twist, when you want to make the audience go, oh God, I'm shocked, I feel like you need to twist about things that weren't introduced in the same exact shot and frame at the same exact time.
Yeah.
My thing with this movie is that a lot of the twists that end up happening with it are stuff that was related to things that were plot ideas and threads that were introduced not like 2 scenes before.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time in the movie to get emotionally attached too much, so when a twist does happen to flip things on its head, what's getting flipped?
Yeah, what is getting flipped?
Yeah.
There was a point to where the way the twists were being shown, they stopped feeling like twists.
When you're watching a movie where you're really invested, you have a mystery going on. Who just got murdered? What the hell is happening? By the way, that person over there, we need to explain why they're here and why they got here exactly from the exact minute detail of their backstory, from getting from point A to B. How did they get to Glass Onion? I know we need to figure this out. We need to figure out this mystery, but now we're going to figure out this whole backstory and make an origin movie about this character in the middle of this movie.
Yeah. To tie it in all together in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, and I see the intention. I think the movie's just trying to tell its story, and it's wanting to place its scenes in an out-of-order context, so you can have that tension of what's going on Glass Onion, what is going on there, the mystery of that, the intrigue there, and then you can cut back to backstory of a certain character to build that tension and explain why someone is there. However, with the way the film does it, it doesn't do it in a sense where the characters have much struggle in what they're trying to accomplish. There's not a lot of stakes in what the characters are trying to do.
Not at all.
The main characters are on top of everything for most of this movie.
Everything pretty much just goes off without a hitch.
Yeah, your protagonist doesn't feel like there's much struggle there. Like, there's struggle in the sense that it's fake struggle. As in, you think there's tension, you think there's a moment where someone's been one-upped, someone's been outsmarted, and you're like, oh no, the killer might have the upper hand, or whatever's going on, to be vague, might have the upper hand. Only for a reveal to happen where, like, a character was actually on top of it the whole time and not the whole thing. And I'm not trying to spoil everything away. I just don't appreciate when a film wants to make you feel emotional oomph. But we don't get a lot of development to that, or at least I felt like for a lot of the final moments this film reaches, I needed more emotional investment in what was going on. But we were flashing back to so many different plot thread that felt distracting. I appreciated having backstory for this character, but with that being said, I needed more balance of the current tension. It kind of falls into the same problem Chapter 2 did, where you flash back so much to the kids being kids again. You know what happened when they were kids. You know how someone got there. You know they're alive. I feel like I'm just watching regurgitated information. With that being said, there's fun to be had in this movie.
There is fun. I mean, I will say, yeah, no, the script is very clever, though. Daniel Craig's character is very intelligent, but I think that the writing was just a little too convenient for him. Some of the things with the characters being on top is just way too convenient, but otherwise, the way that the script is, the way that the characters are, the way that certain conversations go, and the way they flow, I actually did like. I liked a lot.
The dialogue's snappy, it's clever, it's funny. I was laughing a lot in the first act. I know the humor didn't work a lot for you.
Yeah,
understandably so.
The humor, it was like formula humor, like Marvel kind of humor for me. I maybe got 2 chuckles out of maybe 2 scenes in the entire movie. It's a comedy mystery, but honestly, for me, I don't really see the comedy all that much.
That's fair, yeah. And that's just one of those things where I get it. For me, the comedy worked to a point. I think the first act had the most clean comedy.
Yeah.
As moments were starting to become more tension-filled, I definitely could have used a little less jokey joke, a little more let's get serious. I think the first Knives Out does that a little bit too, but I just think I had a better handle on it.
Yeah.
It never fully ruined the movie for me. The comedy is never what took me out. It felt like a genuine personality of the film, so I did think I liked the humor more than you there. I definitely see the issue. I think the movie compromises its tension through the pacing and the way it's edited. An even balance of 2 plot threads going on at once made for less tension for me, not the comedy.
It's just so weird because the mystery within the friend groups, I was way more interested in that than the other mystery that we were getting. I don't know. This movie felt weird with its mystery. I truly felt like there was only one twist. They did multiple. It's just the way they were executed. They just didn't feel like twists. Yeah. Honestly, it's just, I was like, okay, well, I kind of saw all this coming.
There were twists for the sake of being twists. Every scene felt like it was explaining the existence of the last scene, not for a natural story unfolding a storytelling event, but just for the sake of explaining what happened in the last scene. So I don't get much emotional investment when things are flipped on their head. Because when you spend half the time trying to explain yourself instead of just being yourself, it can come across as kind of messy. Yeah. I don't think that's what the movie intended. That's just how it came across to me. I definitely can see where someone would love this movie. I can definitely see how someone would actually like the way the plot is laid out because it can be very clever. Mm-hmm. I just don't think those tricks that Rian Johnson had up his sleeve worked for me this time around. But that's what I love about him as a writer and director is he can make movies that are wholly him and wholly his identity. That's all I want. I want any movie to just be the creator's full vision, even if it didn't work for me. That's okay. I'm glad I got to see it. I'm glad I can see why it might work for other people. It just didn't hit all the marks I could have used for it. I didn't feel as intrigued. I didn't feel as invested. I just laughed a bit, and that's really about it. And I found myself quite bored with this one.
Your characters felt silly when certain things were supposed to be very tension-filled or things were supposed to be serious. It still felt, I guess, a little bit goofy to me, as well as the factor that the characters are just kind of on top of everything. There's real no stakes, no tension. I love all the sets, the island, the house, but yeah, the sets were great. I love the atmosphere. It just got a little goofy, I guess. I liked a lot of the cinematography.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, I think you actually might have liked it more than me. Like, there are parts where I wanted to love it. I think all the elements and ingredients are there for a really great mystery and a really intriguing time. I could have used some more focus, and I definitely just think it's a mixed bag, and ultimately a disappointment for me. I love the first Knives Out. I really wanted to be emotionally invested in this, but I wasn't. There were times where I was bored. There were times where I kind of wanted it to just wrap up because I didn't feel the focus was always there. I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse at this point. I don't like being overly negative in reviews for the sake of that, so I'm going to stop. Still think people should go see this. It got a limited release in theaters. It will be hitting Netflix next month. Or, well, this month. Now tomorrow's December, so. But overall, I still think people should check it out.
Overall, I think this movie's pretty alright. I mean, it's definitely worth watching. I just don't see the rewatch value in it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a one and done for me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have an urge to revisit this one. It's like it kind of left me leaving more on a sour note. So it's like I don't really want to revisit it. It's like I had a fun time with the comedic elements in this one, but like I could rewatch the first Knives Out all day. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching our reviews, ScatterBrained reviews. Please leave us a like, please subscribe, watch our other reviews too, and check us out. Definitely see what we've been talking about. We've had a lot of fun. Terrifier 2 review coming out soon as well. Yeah. And definitely go check out Glass Onion if you want. Thank you for watching, guys.
Yeah, and if you've seen it, maybe tell us what you thought about it in the comments.
Yeah, I want to know. What are the other people thinking?